Hello everyone and welcome to the first game we'll be covering from the Freestyle Chess Grand Slam tournament currently being played in Las Vegas. It will take place over the next 5 days and these are now the preliminary rounds, then we go into the knockouts, and one of the games that was played has already finished, and it was a beautiful game, really short, and you guys will enjoy it. Some 20 moves featuring Hans Niemann and Arjun Erigaisi. So they're divided sort of in two groups, the white group and the black group, or something like that. Let me just check. I think it was the white group and the black group. I know it sounded a little bit weird, but we can actually check. Yeah, there's the white group stage and the black group stage, the knockout stage, the lower bracket, and there's a lot of it as usual, but I will keep you guys informed. So let's check it out. It's a very interesting setup. For those of you who always say that you don't particularly enjoy Fischer Random or Chess 960 or however you want to call it, freestyle, as you know, pieces are scrambled, all of the theory you've learned, all of your hard-learned theory no longer applies, and you have to start thinking right from the start. I found it best not to look at it that way. Just imagine, you're tuning into a game that is already in progress, and this is the position. So, maybe that helps. But we have the heavy artillery on the king side. Here you can see the bishop pair and the queen already going after the black king. Also the black artillery going after the white king here. And the trickster knights are on the queen side. Castle's queen side will happen over a fairly short distance. Castle's king side will be a fairly long distance. So something to take into consideration, as it will it will come into effect this game. So Hans opens with pawn to f4. If you guys are interested, the engine says pawn to e4 is the best move, pawn to f4 second best move. Hans goes for pawn to f4, or rather it gives the same evaluation, only ranks e4 I guess first, but maybe it's just the same. So Hans goes, sorry about that, pawn to f4, and Arjun replies with pawn to f5. We have pawn to g3, and while you could go for the symmetrical pawn to g6, and it's even the best move according to the engine, here in unknown territory, even though players did have some time to study the position before actually playing the game, it's very dangerous playing symmetrical. From regular chess, you just can't keep on mimicking your opponent's moves, because of there's this one little mechanic in chess called check, and then it ruins all of your mimicking plans. So, okay, pawn to d5, we have pawn to d3, and pawn to g6. And Hans strikes in the center with pawn to e4. We have d captures, and Arjun goes for the f captures on e4. We have bishop captures on e4, and knight to d7, probably remaneuvering the knight over to f6, as that is a natural square for the knight. So, might be good for the brain to have pieces where they usually start at, and you already have your bishops here, so that's already a plus. You would actually love to have your bishops like this in regular chess. We have knight to d2 and knight to f7. We have knight to c3. Hans also gets the knight to standard square, and knight to d6, attacking Hans's bishop. Hans goes back, bishop to g2, and Arjun strikes with pawn to e5, preparing e captures on f4. And Hans already starts something very interesting. He goes knight d to, sorry, not that's a c knight. He goes knight d to e4. And the question is, what should Arjun play here? Okay, he captures the knight. That's perfectly fine. And here Hans should play rook captures on e4. So if Arjun captures on f4, he already has a rook here. He can capture with the rook on f4. He has a doubled queen and rook on the f file. He controls the f file, and that will be very good. But he goes for knight captures on e4, as it's much trickier. As I always say, knights are tricky bastards. And there's well, not a lot you can do here. Castling queenside is best, and you just have to do it. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. But Arjun played e captures on f4, and he completely missed something, a very, very valuable resource that Hans has at his disposal. I'm sure you guys will not, so have at it. If you haven't seen it, what did Hans play here? While I give you a couple of seconds. So Hans played knight to c5. And it comes with a very, natural threat of bishop or knight captures on b7. It's just not very easy to tackle this. And again, best is to just castle queenside and, allow capture some b7. You castle, you capture some b7, king b8, bishop b4, queen coming here. It seems like you're getting destroyed. So that's why castling queenside was not played by Arjun. There is the possibility of maybe somewhat defensive setup with pawn to c6, but it's a disgusting engine line that we're not going to discuss as it might spoil the game. On the other hand, what's the threat here? Let's say you just play rook captures on e1. Why wouldn't you just, you trade off a couple of attackers, queen captures on e1, and knight captures on c5? What's the problem here? The problem is bishop captures on c5, attacking the black queen. And now if you capture, seems like you won a piece, but queen to e8 is checkmate, so you cannot play that. So you could move the queen, let's say go queen to f7. Well, now the problem is there's bishop to h3 with check. You go to b8, and now look at this, castles queenside with the rook already on the d file. And remember, there's no rook on h8 to protect you. Even if there was, it wouldn't be very helpful with the bishop on b8. So now the problem is the black queen cannot keep an eye on the e8 square and on the d8 square, and you are getting checkmated on one of those squares. And if you try b6, then the king hunt really begins. Rook to d8 check, king to b7, and queen to e4 with check, king to a6, and now bishop to f1 with check, king to a5, and of course, where else? Queen to b4 will be checkmate. So that is the unfortunate reality of the black pieces here. Arjun went for none of that. He didn't find castles, unfortunately. He played pawn to f3, and now Hans is completely winning. And he played rook captures on e8 with check. We have queen captures on e8 and bishop to h3. So putting pressure on the knight, you cannot bring the bishop in to help. No other pieces that can help. So Arjun castles, so the rook also helps out with the defense of the knight, but what black can do, white can also do, and now castles queenside. The rook also comes into the game with tempo, like in the, let's say, Opera House game, and that's pretty much it. Arjun tried queen to e2 to stir up some trouble, but knight captures on d7. There's just no good move here for Arjun. Problem is, even if you trade, let's say you go queen captures on f1 and rook captures on f1 and rook captures on d7, you can capture the pawn and then go rook d3, but also rook d1 is just fine. You win the rook, and that's it. You're just up a full rook. So after knight captures on d7, bishop to e6 was played, and now, again, pretty much everything is winning. Hans goes for the nicest possible idea, knight b6 check. He wants bishop captures on e6 to come with check to ensure that he will end the variation up a piece. Okay, c captures on b6 to get out a check. Now comes queen captures on e2. You have to recapture with the pawn, because if you capture the rook first to give check, the queen can just capture, so it's not really relevant. F captures on e2, and now bishop captures on e6 with check, king to c7, and rook to e1, just getting out of harm's way. Now Hans is up a full bishop. Next, he will capture on e2. It doesn't matter what you play. If rook to e8, you can just go bishop c4, capture the pawn next, and that's it. You're just down a full piece, and of course, Arjun does not feel like playing this. And I didn't show the clock times for this one. Apologies for that. But yeah, Arjun did struggle with the clock quite a lot. We can show the end position if you guys want. There we go. So as you can see, Hans finished with 3 minutes on the clock to Arjun's 40 seconds. But yeah, Hans was always, within the 5 minutes range, and Arjun very quickly dropped like a minute on the clock. But yeah, masterfully played by Hans, taking down Arjun in this beautiful game of round 1. What a way to open the tournament, and what a line. It's probably Hans knew that rook captures was better, but as I say, knights are tricky bastards. If you give a knight a chance, more often than not, the knight will not disappoint you. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very nicely played by Hans, and a very nice start to the tournament. I would like to thank Alan Charbonneau, Seshadri Subramanian, Nick Lin, Paulo Hinamund, and Ricardo Cordona Lopez for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day. And use that hashtag suggestion if you have a game that you would like to see. See you soon.